As you may have seen and heard, yesterday we launched Casper Wallet Mobile Open Beta, which is really the first public version of the Casper Wallet on mobile. It launched simultaneously on iOS and Android. So far, actually, I haven't checked the download numbers yet, but based on the feedback that we're getting a lot of positive feedback. People seem to be happy with what they see, happy with the onboarding process, and that is something that in particular we are proud of as well. We made it very easy for existing Casper Wallet users to move or sync their accounts from their desktop wallets to their mobile wallet, just using a QR scan, essentially. So no matter how many accounts you have on your desktop browser extension, whether they're recovery phrase based or imported from the old CIDR with key files, etc., they all move over in a matter of seconds and you are ready to use them on your mobile browser. Obviously, this is a first version. There will probably be kinks to work out, and we're working on those. And we have a long roadmap ahead of us. So if you've used it, you will have noticed that the NFT tab, for example, is not functional yet. It will be in the next version of the mobile wallet, meaning you can view all the NFTs that you own, you can send them, you can do whatever you can do with NFTs in other environments as well. And then short-term roadmap-wise for mobile, we are working on native staking support in the mobile wallet. So currently you can obviously use it to access Casper Live and other dApps that support the Casper Wallet extension will also work in the Casper Wallet mobile, so you can stake via Casper Live and other staking websites, but there will be native staking functionality in the wallet itself. We're working on Wallet Connect protocol integration into the wallet so that it's compatible with dApps all over Web3. We're working on contact book and improved recipient selection. We will have updated, and this is both for the mobile and desktop version, updated deploy information, and it's basically making the signing step a lot more user-friendly and intuitive. Right now, when you sign a transaction, it shows the user a lot of technical information about that transaction, which is obviously highly accurate, but not highly intuitive. So we're going to make that a little bit more clear to the user what they're actually doing. If they're doing a transfer, it shows sending X amount from A to B, etc. That's basically the core functionality of what you need to know. So that's being worked on. We're going to have a multi-sig specific UI in the wallet as well. So while you can already use the wallet to sign multi-sig transactions, it just shows up as a regular transaction. There will be specific UI and specific UX that shows you, well, I am the second of 5 signatures that's required, and after this, the weight is X, etc. So that's one that we're excited about as well. So everything that I've described now is on the short-term roadmap, which for us means the next maybe quarter and a half. And then from there, we have a longer-term roadmap as well. We will be adding support for Ledger wallets, hardware wallet support. And that is, we want to make Casper the most user-friendly blockchain network out there, right? So that you can look at it from two directions, from the user as in the end user perspective, as well as the developer perspective, right? So from the end user perspective, depending on whose numbers you have to believe these days, there's maybe a few 100 million people in the world who've ever interacted with blockchain, right? So that leaves basically the entire world who hasn't, like 9 billion plus people. Being a new user to Web3 is highly confusing, right? Like I'm sure you've gone through it. You get to a dApp, it asks you to download an extension to your browser, which most people have never done before. Then it asks you to set up a 24 recovery phrase. It says a lot of scary things about if you lose this, you lose all your money. So make sure you put it somewhere safe. Don't share it with anybody. Make sure that nobody's watching over your shoulder, et cetera, very scary. And that's the reason why there is probably billions of crypto that's lying on trash dumps, because people forgot that they put it on their drive or on their USB stick or whatever the case may be, right? So we don't think that the crypto or blockchain is in any shape or form intuitive and user-friendly right now for the remaining 10 billion people to come online. We are doing everything we can on the end user side to make it as intuitive as possible for non-crypto native users to onboard onto blockchain and specifically Casper. That translates within the wallet to making it as intuitive and user-friendly as possible, just like you would use your PayPal app or your Venmo app or whatever people are used to. And it translates to things like Casper Click, which we'll talk about in a minute, and how we make it so that you don't have to deal with passphrases, recovery phrases, pieces of paper that you need to store, hardware wallets, etc. But you can just sign into an application and start using it just like you would on Google and Facebook and X, etc. Then on the developer side, we also believe that right now the blockchain developer ecosystem is measured perhaps in the tens of thousands of developers. There are tens of millions of developers out there who've never interacted with blockchain technology. And if they could do so in a way that is familiar to them using standard APIs and standard languages, we will reach a whole lot more developers. And we are doing what we can to make Casper the most developer-friendly environment as well through initiatives like Casper Click on the front end. CSPR Click or Casper Click is basically tackles that user friendliness conundrum that we just talked about. On the end user side, it provides a consistent and familiar way of signing into applications in a similar way as they would sign in with Google sign-in or Facebook sign-in or any other sort of single sign-on solution that they're familiar with. For example, if you signed in with Casper Click once on Casper Live, and then you go visit another third-party application that has implemented Casper Click as well, it will recognize you and say, hey, welcome back, Maciej. Do you want to sign in with the account that you previously used? Click here, single click, and you're signed in, and you can start using your wallet. So that's the experience that most users expect on Web 2. We're now bringing it to Web 3. And similarly, a lot of new users, non-crypto native users, will not have existing downloadable extensions on their browser or crypto wallets on their cell phone. They're used to signing in with their Google account and with their Facebook account and whatever other account they may have. Right? So we're adding that support as well to Casper Click, where you can sign in with your email, with your cell phone number, through SMS, one-time passwords, or through Google, Facebook, etc., and still have self-custody over your crypto, because that's important from a security perspective, but not have to deal with recovery phrases, 24 words, hardware wallets, and all those things that, other than the early adapters, which we are all part of, the average user is never going to deal with. And once they see that in your application, they're going to be gone, right? Nobody's going to. So that's what we're focusing on the front end for Casper Click for end users. As a developer, if you choose to use Casper Click, it does a whole number of things for you. One, it provides these very convenient features to your end users, right? So if you are a developer and you're developing an application, you want to make it as easy as possible for end users to access that application and interact with it. So using Casper Click does that, which leads to higher retention and better acquisition and just better usage of your application. But also it saves you cost, time, and maintenance. So on the cost and time side of things, Casper Click, through a single SDK integration, offers you integrations with every single wallet that supports Casper, right? So whether it's a downloadable extension or what we just discussed with email, SMS, and social logins, single integration, and you're fully integrated with any type of wallet. So literally within minutes or after the races, we actually have a single command line that if you enter, it sets up essentially a full DApp with all the wallets integrated, with a fiat on-ramp integrated, and all kinds of other functionality that you may need, so that you as a developer can focus on the actual functionality of the application that you're building, rather than spending weeks or months on integrating with 10 different wallets and on-ramps and other third-party APIs, et cetera, et cetera. So literally it's months versus minutes. The second part that I mentioned is maintenance. So if you've ever integrated with any third-party application like a wallet or an SDK, you will know that very often these third-party applications release updates, right? So if you integrate with 10 wallets, probably once a week, you'll be updating your integration for one of them, because they release updates and they add an API, they change an API, they deprecate something. So you have ongoing maintenance that is associated with the number of integrations that you have. If you integrate with Casper Click as a developer, you have one integration, and we take care of the maintenance on our end. So if a wallet updates, we update that in Casper Click, and every developer who is using Casper Click automatically gets those updates in their application, meaning they essentially eliminated the maintenance cost and overheads associated with the Casper Network.
What do you have on your mind when you said open the floodgates for Casper on the Twitter?
Oh,
yeah, a long time ago.
So I did say that. So When I say open the floodgates, when we thought about, let's take a step back. So you know that Alex and I are co-founders of Casper Labs, right? So we were there from day one. We helped start the company in the project, and then we stepped out of our operational role and focused back on Make, which was an existing company, and we're in different industries, including like medical industries and stuff like that. And then by the time that the network was ready to launch, Casper asked us to come and help build the ecosystem out because we do similar things in other industries. And we looked at that in a number of phases. So the first phase really was building fundamental infrastructure. Obviously, Casper Labs has done a fantastic job building the protocol, building the nodes, very compelling product offering that they have. But a blockchain is a protocol, right? Just like TCP/IP, you cannot touch it. In order to experience it, you need to have applications that build on top of it. So fundamental infrastructure in the case of a blockchain that we focus on, obviously the Block Explorer, CSPR.live, we continue to develop. We took over at the time the Casper Signer, which was an in-house sort of prototype wallet that Casper Labs developed. We helped maintain it for a little bit while we worked on Casper Wallet. So Casper Wallet is part of fundamental infrastructure, right? You need to be able to keep your keys and interact with the blockchain. Then we have developed a whole number of sort of libraries and SDKs and abstractions for Casper in an open source format. So if you go to Make's GitHub organization, you'll find maybe 40 or so open source repositories with SDKs and libraries that we've developed for Casper and we made available to other developers. So that's part of what we see as fundamental infrastructure. So you can, as a developer, interact with the blockchain. And we've developed some no-code tools, right? So for end users, for example, to create NFT collections or mint NFTs, etc. We have CSPR Studio, which anybody can access, and the non-crypto native new user can come in and within 1 minute have their own NFT collection. So those are what we consider sort of the fundamental layer. And then it's about enabling growth. Like, what do you need to enable growth? There's a number of things in our one, it's about commerce. You need to prove that you can have economic activity on a blockchain, right? Because that's ultimately what's going to drive adoption. CSPR.market is a nice sort of case study of that, which we've built, and we make CSPR.market available as a white label as well. So if you have a project that's looking to build out an NFT marketplace as part of their product offering, we have that on the shelf essentially. Then it's about identity and engagement. And on the identity front, we are working hard on CSPR.name, a Casper.CSPR name service, which perhaps not today, but in the very near future, we can make some very interesting announcements about, because it's going to be unlike anything you've seen in other ecosystems from a name service perspective. It's really exciting, actually. And from the engagement perspective, when I talked about this in Davos also in January, why are other application genres more successful at retaining their users and they don't end up on the trash dumps like crypto apps? Because they continuously engage their users, right? Like if you have an email application, it pings every time you get an email. If you are on social, you get notifications. If you play a game, it tells you, play Farmville, tells you your crops are ready. If you receive a payment in Venmo, you get a notification. In crypto, it's so easy to use an application once and then forget about it and even not remember that you ever had it. To cure that, to solve that, we are launching notification for Casper, meaning anybody who has either the Casper Wallet on desktop or the Casper Wallet on mobile can receive notifications from any application on their native device, right? So the browser extension can deliver native desktop notifications. The mobile wallet can deliver mobile notifications. And on top of that, we're building notifications into Casper Click, which, as I'm sure you've seen, has this top navigation bar on applications that integrate it. That'll be a delivery mechanism for notifications as well. So whether it's our applications or any third-party applications that integrate with this, will be able to engage and retain and bring back their users to their application whenever it's relevant to them. Obviously, the user is in control, but you can imagine things like you're participating in an NFT marketplace and you're outbid, you should receive a notification, right? You're playing Casper Punks and your punk has evolved, you should receive a notification to come back. Whatever the scenario is, this is what works in sort of the Web 2 world. We're bringing it to Web 3 as well. Engagement, identity, commerce, And then it's about developers. So bring on the developers, which is Casper Cloud to a large extent, which we can talk about in a little bit more detail in a minute. And then bring on the end users, because now we have all the components that we believe are necessary for really massive growth. So that's where Open the Floodgates comes in. The ultimate goal is Casper blockchain mass adoption. And the way to get there, in our view, is by putting all those components in place. Then you have a very strong story to tell. And again, like I said earlier, our goal is to make Casper the most user-friendly blockchain, both for end users as well as developers. Then you can translate that to supply and demand, essentially, right? So we're very excited about the upcoming launch of Casper Cloud 2.0. So Casper Cloud is our API middleware layer. It already powers all of our internal tools, meaning Casper Live and NFT Marketplace and Casper Studio and the wallet, etc. And it also actually powers probably the majority of the dApps that you're familiar with in the ecosystem already. And I'll tell you why. So why do you need an API middleware tool? When you develop a dApp and you need access to blockchain data, you have a few options. The most obvious option is you set up a node and you integrate with that node. It may be the most obvious, but it's actually also the most cumbersome. Why? Because now, you want to develop an application, but now you're running core infrastructure, you're running a node that has a cost with it, that has maintenance with it. You need to upgrade that node, you need to maintain it, you need to keep it up and running. And secondly, now as a developer, you need to start learning about what does it take to integrate with a blockchain node. Casper node. So I need to learn either the RPC protocol for Casper or the SSE protocol for Casper. Basically new concepts that the average developer has never dealt with before. You need to learn about the structure of Casper deploys and blocks and all the sort of nitty-gritty of the Casper specific protocol. Whereas I just really want to develop an application, right? Not the best solution. Secondly, blockchain nodes perform a certain function, which is consensus, right? And sort of continuity of the blockchain. They're not designed for high throughput applications. They're not designed for querying lots of data. They're not designed for querying old data. They're not designed for summarizing data. So if you have an application and you want to show tons of data, or you want to go back historically, or you want to show like how many rewards did user A get from 2021 to 2023, it's almost impossible to do that by accessing the node itself. So there comes in Casper Cloud, and this is the reason why so many developers use it. It provides indexed and aggregated and enriched data from the Casper blockchain that allows developers to essentially access this through a standard REST API, like almost every developer in the world is already familiar with, from integrating with other platforms. And it is designed for high throughput. So if you want to build a very successful application, you cannot build it on top of a node. Your node would essentially die. You have to build it on top of a middleware layer that can actually serve up thousands or tens of thousands of requests, even a second if necessary. And it's indexed. So if you want to see what Maciej earned in 2022, you can do that query and get an answer, which you cannot do on a node. And finally, it's also enriched, meaning we pull in additional data sources. So for the same example, if you want to translate Maciej's earnings in 2022 into euros, we pull in data from third-party exchange information, and we'll provide you the Casper value and the euro value, for example. So that's one of the values of Casper Cloud. The other one is, and this is something that we're launching in 2.0, event streaming. So let's say you are a contract developer and you need to respond, your dApp needs to respond to things that happen as a result of interacting with your contract, right? So now if you want to respond to contract interactions, right, end users calling your contract, you have to basically observe the entire blockchain 24 hours a day and then parse the very specific Casper protocol and look for any interaction in any block, in any transaction that may have to do with your contract. Very time, cost, and effort intensive mechanism. Instead, what we will be offering through Casper Cloud is a WebSocket-based event subscription where you can subscribe to all events that occur in your contract. And essentially your backend application or your front-end application gets pinged through WebSockets anytime a user interacts with it. So it allows filtering on contract level events, and it allows a developer to essentially, again, using standard technologies like WebSockets, which they're already used to, listen to things that happen on the blockchain without having any knowledge of Casper, nodes, blockchain protocols, etc. So again, it's an example of making it extremely developer friendly to interact with the Casper blockchain and build your applications on top of it without going through very lengthy and costly learning curves, which many large companies and small companies just cannot afford to do in order to build an application. So another example of trying to make it as accessible as possible for mass adoption. Casper Live, the block explorer for the Casper Network. So as I mentioned, we continue to develop it. We are actually rolling out associated account management. So as you might know, Casper has built-in native support for multi-signature accounts and transactions. Part of that is configuring your account for multi-sig. Currently, the only way to do that is command line with the Casper client, not user-friendly, not designed for mass adoption. We are making this available through Casper Live in the next few weeks, where anybody can set up their accounts for multi-sig in a very intuitive and simple way. And then also use that multi-sig functionality to, for example, initiate multi-sig transfers, set up multi-sig approvals on delegations, etc., etc. So we're making the very powerful multi-signature functionality that exists on the protocol available in a user-friendly and intuitive way in the next few weeks. Similarly, we are making a lot of other things more user-friendly. So for example, deploy information, right? So if you look at transaction, it describes in somewhat technical terms what is going on. We're going to try and make that more intuitive and understandable to the average user and describe in proper language rather than technical terms what is going on. We are working with another group in the Casper Ecosystem, a Polish group called Tionite actually, on contract source code verification. So they have worked on a mechanism to do so with WASM compiled contracts, which will allow us to, within Casper Live, the verified source code for a smart contract. So you as a user or as a developer can verify that this is the source code for the contract and it does what it says it's supposed to do. And B, it's verified that it is in fact that source code. So that's going to be powerful. We are adding filtering to tables. So if you're looking at any of the tables, and for example, the transaction table, you want to see only the transactions that belong to a specific contract or a specific user or a specific amount or date range, etc. That will be available throughout the ecosystem. We're going to start introducing the concept of Casper applications or apps. So very often, and the apps that are being developed on the Casper ecosystem comprise of multiple contracts that work together, right? And they call each other, and one may be the marketplace contract, the other the payment contract, the other the minting contract, etc. We are going to be able to essentially group those together into an application and provide a more richer environment for users to actually interact with apps in a way that they already interact with applications in the Web 2 world. And this will ultimately translate into sort of a discovery mechanism for applications in an app store and things like that as well. And you'll find that sort of permeating through the other tools in the ecosystem as well. So not just in Casper Live, but in the wallet, for example, there will be sort of more of a, again, I'm using the word intuitive a lot today, I'm noticing, but it'll be a lot clearer for users what they're interacting with rather than, again, the term smart contracts. You and I know what it means, but the 10 billion users who are yet to join Web3 do not. So we're trying to turn that around into, here's just another app that you get to interact with as well. All block explorers and all wallets currently essentially use the same way of presenting blockchain information or what happened on the blockchain to users. And it's this endless table of transactions with the highly technical information. We're working on changing the script on that a little bit as well and make that more user-friendly. And we're thinking and designing around an activity feed concept, which again is something that users are familiar with from their social network experiences, etc. So rather than an endless table transactions, you would see something like Mache bought an item in the CSPR markets NFT marketplace and paid X Casper for it, right? Like it's, again, natural language and concepts that users understand rather than a table with 15 columns and values that nobody understands with it. So that's something that we'll also experiment with perhaps a little bit and then permeate throughout the ecosystem. As, again, an attempt to make this the most user-friendly ecosystem around. Those are the highlights for Casper Live in the near future. So Beast League is currently actually doing a user acquisition trial with one of Casper Association's partners that kicked off this week. So I don't have any details on it yet, but the game is in really good shape. I don't know if you've played it, but it's very entertaining, very fun. Our integration with the Casper Network is finished and ready and good to go. They've been focused on tweaking the gameplay and the tournament format, and the expectation is that will launch with Casper functionality in Q1. But it's from a Casper integration perspective, it's good to go, ready to go. Just waiting for finalization on the game side of things to make sure that it's the most compelling game possible.